Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on where you're located. My name is Michael Ubaldini. I'm with Strategic Technology Solutions. Appreciate y'all spending some time with us today with some expert best practices from STS's own resident expert, Ryan Whitworth. Um, this is being recorded, so if you all didn't get notified, you should have, but this is going to be recorded. We'll send it out to everybody that's in attendance as well as repurpose it for other social media content. So the purpose of this program today is just to talk about some best practices with iManage and document management in general, but mostly focused on iManage. It is going to be informal, so if you have questions, you have comments, please put them in the chat. We have Jordan that's monitoring the chat, so we're going to try to save them all to the end. We're going to probably carve out about 15 minutes at the end to go through Q&A. But if there is something pressing that you want to have addressed during the moment, we could certainly do that. So the whole goal of this is to have everybody take away a couple nuggets around iManage and best practices and really help you all be able to leverage not only the investment to the best of your abilities and the best of the firm's abilities, but also leverage the entire iManage tool for what it's really generally used for. So with that in mind, I am just going to be the person that starts the conversation, and then I'm going to hand it off to the real true expert, Ryan Whitworth. Not only is Ryan a colleague of mine, but he's also a dear friend of mine. I've been doing this for 20 years, working with law firms around technology, and I say this about him all the time. He is one of the best, if not the best, iManage expert or subject matter expert that I had ever come across. So folks out there that are tuning in, you guys are in for a treat today. So I will hand it off to Ryan to take this away.
Thank you, Mike. That's very, very kind of you. I do appreciate everything that you do and all your kind words, and I try every day to live up to them. So thank you, my friend.
My
A
pleasure.
little bit about me is I've been in the IT field, specifically legal technology now for nearly 20 years. I think it's been over 18 um, as a whole. And I like a lot of people, I started off in support and at a regional law firm and moved up to an AM Law 10 and kind of cut my teeth in the enterprise realm of big legal and learned how things were done at a very large scale. And it's been great to kind of grow within this document management systems niche and to learn iManage from back, when there were small competitors like Hummingbird and when it was owned by HP and we called everything autonomy. And it's just been great to see it grow from the introduction of matter centricity into the migration to cloud and seeing all of these iterations over time. Um, so I'm really excited to be here today and talk to you about where iManage is today and how to get the most out of the system now that we're all kind of cloud first and hopefully matter centric.
I appreciate that introduction and let's start there, Ryan, with we have the ability and the opportunity to work with and talk to a lot of firms, and it seems like more often than not they are using iManage. Um, so why are so many firms using iManage?
That's a great question. I really do believe it comes down to them being legal first. They've grown their platform as a system for legal professionals and to enable billing professionals to connect to iManage and mirror how they work on a day-to-day basis. So you have the workspace being that digital representation of a Redwell. You have the library being the whole firm filing cabinet. And to me, it makes sense to be looking for a client that matches your source of truth, whether it be a billing system or iManage itself, and then drilling down to the matter, finding that folder, that Redwell, and then finding using that as your workspace for your daily business. So for me, I feel like they position themselves early as a key player in the legal field, and they built their system around legal processes, and how an attorney or a billing professional works on a day-to-day business. And to me, that really set them apart. Uh, that set them apart from other document management systems that were maybe trying to cast a really wide net, in the beginning in early 2000s, especially. Um, so uh, to me, it stands out as a platform that really met the legal industry where it was at and then grew with it, as opposed to, you know, let's get every industry under the sun in first and then decide which one works best for our platform.
Well, Ryan, you touched on a couple. I don't know if I'd call them differentiators, but value that iManage brings to the law firm. And maybe you're going to replicate the answer to this question. Is there certain unique opportunities that iManage presents for law firms?
Absolutely. They have a lot of great technology partners, a lot of amazing integrations. We're seeing a very smooth process now with Microsoft Power Automate, for example. So hosting things in Entra ID, like your identity, there's a SCIM application now, which means you can create a new user in your Active Directory forest. It's going to automatically provision that account inside of iManage, along with whatever groups they are members of, which makes adding and enforcing security much, much easier, even if you don't have SPM, a secure policy manager. There's also a long-standing integration with ethical wall solutions like NTAP, which are very popular in larger scales, especially. So for me, I think the integrators, the tech partners, the people who are writing solutions for a DMS and making sure your applications talk to each other, has um, a very well respected and um, populated field for us to pick from.
Hmm.
Additionally, there's a lot of options for automation. Again, I'll go back to the Power Automate connector because it's one that we're using a lot right now and see a lot of really great feedback. Is creating workspaces without a server, and creating them from your source of truth, or if you don't have one, even a SharePoint list where your accounting team or your conflicts check team, whoever you have assigned to open the matters, can just plug in the information after it's validated, and your workspace will open automatically. So I am seeing a lot of great features for iManage, with these trusted platforms that we're already using. Make life a lot easier.
Yeah, you touched on some of those next, and this kind of leads right into that next question with regards to. Um, I want to ask this in two different ways. Really, one, iManage has a number of different core offerings that firms can use. There's many, and this is coming down later. There's many firms out there that don't take advantage of all those core offerings. But why don't you dig into some of what are those key core offerings that iManage provides in addition to some of the things that you've already mentioned?
Oh, sure thing. I think I haven't yet mentioned Threat Manager, which is honestly one of my favorites. I've really, at first, I was kind of, I'll be honest, a little intimidated by it. There were a couple different admin guides, and you had a bot that you could train, and it didn't make a lot of sense when I first looked at it. But after diving into it over the years, I've really enjoyed setting up the automated rules and alerting, and finding the sensitive matters, and making sure that the people who access them um, are not violating any of the firm's usage policies or guidelines, and if they are, setting up a rule so that the stakeholders know about it. There's also the advanced prediction and user adoption metrics, which are great when you finish a rollout or implement a new piece of technology, or you're even considering training. You can really identify which areas are not being used on the platform and maybe who could use some one-on-one time with it. Or even, whose legal assistant is taking on too much work. So it's a really a great tool, I think, um, to streamline your operation and to make sure you're getting the most out of iManage in this context. I can't say enough good things about Threat Manager, and I'd like to see more usage and reliance on it.
There's a couple questions I have for that, and we'll hold those off till later.
Sure.
Other core areas or core capabilities that that are some of your favorites.
Yeah, definitely. There's some new items that are coming to specifically cloudimanage.com or have already launched. One thing that we've been waiting for since, early 2000s was the ability to propagate security to subfolders. That's been a huge thing and a very big wish list item for admins and for really anybody who owns a workspace. So you can, add a new group and propagate that security down to documents. You don't have to go through each subfolder, checking the inherit box and reapplying security and getting real messy like that. So it's really nice to see that feature coming into the mainstream. Additionally, with for any desk site users, people who are on iManage on premise and they like desk site a lot, and I was one of them. When we went to cloud, we changed to grid view and we got a lot of these features, but it didn't quite feel the same, and it was almost like something was missing. Now you get the benefit of having that. Additional tree view for people's matters on the left side. And I really do love to see that feature introduced. Um, I did talk a lot about the Power Automate connector, which is I think um, really we're just diving in and seeing some of the value you can get out of that, like running reports for which workspaces were created in the past 7 days or 10 days and kind of maintaining a list. That's been really well received amongst our clients too.
That's great. You touched on one area really, well, two technically, on-prem versus cloud. And there's been, a dominant cloud has been a dominant topic over the last several years, if not decades.
Yeah.
Um, that whole moving from on-prem to the cloud. Firms have traditionally been late adopters, and we see this many times where we'll go into a firm and they still have either iManage on cloud or other line of business applications or on-prem, excuse me. So there's that we'll call it hesitancy or reluctancy to go to the cloud for the most part. Uh, what do you feel is the value of firms at least considering moving to iManage Cloud and or moving to iManage Cloud from on-prem or from maybe not even a document management system in place?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like a lot of clients out there, a lot of law firms. I think it was when I was speaking with iManage, they were mentioning over 70% had already made the move to cloud or were in progress considering it. So we're seeing that number. While a lot of people were hesitant, a lot of people eventually went. Even some of our clients who, when it launched, were not interested, are up there now and enjoying it. Um, I think there are some barriers to it and some concerns, of course. But like, how do I recover my data if it's lost? How do I don't have that control. Why would you ask me to give up control over these items and for what reasons? And they're very fair hesitations, I think. One is security. Every single year, cybersecurity insurance is is more expensive and they have stricter requirements. And a lot of them really do want to see certified, auditable solutions from a third party that can attest to and prove a certain level of security that's very difficult to meet in-house for most small to medium law firms, especially. HIPAA compliance, governance capabilities, encryption at rest and in transit, all these terms that for, an office administrator or a, single IT guy running the entire needs of a law firm, those are very hard to satisfy and really see where to begin. So by moving or migrating your data to the cloud, those largely get answered for you. And iManage has a great trust and governance portal, and you can really, once given access to it, you can download the attestations and the audit reports for the year and have them on hand. They do sign BAAs if you need HIPAA compliance. I mean, really takes a lot of the worry out of the security aspect of it over the long term. Um, Additionally, when handling a migration, how do you make sure that your data is secure when while you push it up to this new home in the cloud? And for that, you're going to want to have your backups in place on a migration server. You're going to want to work with somebody who takes that seriously. And if they're spinning up a virtualized server as like kind of the go-between, you get all those standard hardening policies and procedures in place. You get secure backups. You use a tool that's been vetted and certified for your migration in order to map your metadata properly and ensure that, you know, um, if there's any hiccups, that information is locked down. Uh, so a couple other benefits are like infrastructure costs, right? So right now you're hosting multiple servers if you're still on premise. You might have a few Raven servers, which that could be two, three, six different servers, and that's only to handle your searching and optical character recognition. So you could search PDFs. Maybe you still have idle servers, which are at end of life. You also need indexers, multiple servers, and a lot of resources for those. A cluster of document management servers, a communication server to send and file emails. So the cost of hosting on premise is actually pretty high, even if you're just talking infrastructure. Um, I'll try not to bore you with more details, but whenever you can trim that down and stop paying so much on hosting the data in-house and replacing those drives as they start to fail and having redundancies and shipping offsite backups and having a team for database maintenance and having a team for storage maintenance and having a team for governance and compliance and encryption. uh, you end up saving a lot, not just in infrastructure, but in headaches.
Well,
I think it's
I was
great
going to say
case.
not just from an investment perspective potentially, but also from just a management administrative perspective and resource perspective in taking care of that environment and infrastructure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It takes a lot of people. And I've been in a lot of situations over the years where we work with on-premise teams who ask us, train us as we go.
Mm.
And the turnover rate makes that very difficult. Even if you make a plan to train up an internal team over the 6 months or so. The people at the end of those 6 months might not be the people at the start of the 6 months, and that does increase the project. So I have been in the past in situations where we're training an on-premise team, supposed to be 6 months, and a year and a half later, we're training a new on-premise team. So it can be very difficult to have, um, you know, the application prowess in-house, especially as these tools change over time. Um, and most of us who are familiar with it uh, are on this side of the fence, working with multiple people at a time, I feel.
Ryan, do you do you see a big difference in the functionality and capabilities from on-prem to iManage Cloud?
Oh, especially in recent years, yes. On premise is not getting the new features that we find ourselves implementing for clients and getting the best feedback on. Items like Tracker, Insight Plus, like the skim connectors and the Power Automate connectors. I haven't seen them in use yet in on-premise environments. Some of them may not be supported, especially stuff like the AI offerings with Insight Plus. Um, you know, there may be more, I want to say, um, approachability for if you have an in-house database admin to continue using SQL. But at the end of the day, you're not getting those new features that are released that are saving a lot of time and are at the forefronts of people's minds right now as we step into a world that's trying on AI and seeing where it fits in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. Well, that's another question I wanted to highlight later on, but you talked a little bit about the transition. We talked about from on-prem to cloud and the capabilities, the functionalities. You highlighted a bunch of the tools that you feel are exciting to talk about and implement and use. There's that side of the fence that we touched on a little bit around training, user adoption. We kind of alluded to it a little bit as firms one make the transition from on-prem to cloud. They sometimes are not taking the full advantage not only of the tools and the capabilities of iManage Cloud, but also the investment. Could you talk a little bit about that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd encourage any firm who's still kind of hesitating to move in the cloud to treat it as an opportunity to align their environment with best practices first and foremost. Once you move to the cloud, you uh, it's easier to use, but you want to make sure that it's working for you before you get there. I'm going to be honest, or at least use it as a chance um, to address the items that lower adoption and that maybe your users find um, is preventing them from taking advantage or wanting to work in the platform today. Because as much as the cloud offers new features and usability and a nice, clean, polished look, it's not a magic wand that's going to fix all the issues in an environment. So I do recommend if your system, your metadata doesn't work for you, you can't find things in searches, you can't set up automation because your billing system uses a different code. You use the migration as an opportunity to fix those items in staging or on premise before you push that data up to the cloud. You're going to get a much better experience once you test out that metadata profile um, uh, and finish that cutover than if you just kind of kicked the can and brought the problems and troubles with you into the cloud, if that makes sense. Additionally, it's having good change management is super important. Preparing your users for change, having an iManage certified trainer, maybe even offering floor support, training the weekend before and the week of your cutover makes a huge difference for people. And encouraging people to attend those trainings is also very important. Um, because trainers make a huge difference in how we leverage those features. You can't get the most out of it if you don't know it exists. And so I definitely recommend people work with a certified trainer um, in order to and encourage people go to that trainer to learn, how to set their view settings in a way that makes sense to them and how to add columns and how to run an advanced search so they can find the documents they need and not spend 30 minutes every day spinning their wheels going, where was that thing?
Ryan, do you feel that the reason why there is such this opportunity for increasing user adoption is because one, maybe uh, um, users may not be very familiar with some of the tools that they could take advantage of. There's a training aspect, and of course, change management, and fear of change. So, do you feel those are some of the components of that user adoption opportunity existing, or are there others?
It's absolutely a piece of it. right? So not to be too cheesy, but that whole knowledge is power is still at work in everyone's every day. If if you don't know, you can't take advantage of it. So we definitely want to incorporate that in a big way in any of our change management protocols. But additionally, the system just may not be designed in a way that works for them. Maybe you've expanded practice areas. A lot of firms, well, some firms, especially the ones we work with, maybe start with litigation and have a large litigation practice, and focus mainly on that. But later, maybe they branched out to estate planning or to real estate, or another practice area, but they're still using their litigation template as the default. So workspaces for estate planning, maybe they're using the pleading metadata in a way that doesn't make sense for them. Maybe they're tagging things as agreements that aren't really agreements, and that makes it harder to find documents that are relevant to their day-to-day life. So I think using it as an opportunity to talk to stakeholders in each practice area, the heads of those business units, and figuring out what their pain points are before you design the cloud system and migrate your data to it, is a huge boon to getting people to actually adopt that system. And we do have like questionnaires that we use here, and we encourage our points of contact to get those stakeholders involved and go through the business unit discovery questionnaire and tell us, if their current system works for them, and if not, what would they like to see? And what documents do they have problems finding? We even go so far as to do we call them like enterprise solutions interviews with some clients to really figure out how they're using it. Get a paralegal on the phone and say, when you open a new matter, what's the first thing you do? Can you share your screen and show me? And it does really help identify why adoption's low, if that helps.
I would think it does. I would think it does. I want to circle back to that topic you mentioned earlier, and I think it has a lot to do with the design and the adoption and the approach overall, and that's uh, designing your environment, your DMS environment, to be matter centric.
Mm.
And this is something that I know you believe in strongly because I hear it all the time when we're talking to potential clients and clients about the importance of it. Could you talk a little bit about that for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I first remember hearing this in the early 2000s, I want to say, maybe late 2000s. But going into document management systems like even Hummingbird, it was Hummingbird DM or OpenText, World Docs. It was really on everyone's mind is how do we organize this in a way that we can find it, and certain attorneys would have a different naming convention for the title of their document, right? And so they'd get irritated at other people on staff because they're naming the document something they would never have thought of to find this document. And so you started seeing things like the profiles, document profiling come into place. And in there, you were able to select a client and select a matter in order to refine that search. And eventually, those workspaces became tied to the matter. And that's really all we call matter centric, is making sure that your system revolves around having a client on top and a matter on bottom, so you can select that matter and open the folder and have a system designed around that workspace so you can easily find it. The problem is a lot of law firms just never really adopted it. And maybe this is surprising to some people on the call. Maybe it's not, but um, uh, you'll find in our line of work that um, some people assign random numbers, or some people only use the client field and organize everything by case. And maybe that makes sense for them still on a day-to-day basis, but you really do lose things like secure policy manager, where you have the ability to say, all right, this team works for this client, give them access to all matters unless there's a conflict. You know, if you don't have a matter-centric database or library, you have to manually address every single matter for every single client individually. And that takes a lot of time out of your day-to-day. It makes it a lot harder to find documents that are related to your client or even your case that you're working on. Because you can't just search the client and find every single case that your firm ever did with them. A matter-centric environment, really, really simple, but if you don't start there, it's very difficult to implement after the fact. And that problem grows exponentially every single year. Once you move to the cloud, your abilities to address that shift from being able to do it in your environment to having to kind of plan it and walk it through under a different programming language that a lot of uh, engineers are not necessarily familiar with. Before you migrate to the cloud is the best time to address that matter-centric environment if you don't already have it in place.
Great. You talked a little bit about security as well as artificial intelligence. Um, how is iManage, how does one iManage address the security topic? And I know you touched on it a little bit, but I think it'd be valuable to go through it in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, sir. I mean, they take security very seriously, and I find it very easy to hop on their trust portal, their governance portal, and download their audit reports. They get independent third-party auditors to um, ensure that the security ISO, 27001, SOC 2 Type 2, all the security attestations for different standards that they attest to are actually being fulfilled by them. And those reports are available to their clients and to their partners, so that it introduces a very transparent aspect to their security, which is very refreshing. I think in this day and age,
Hmm.
it can be hard to pin down, you know, why a platform is considered secure. It's great to be able to go to that governance portal and see every individual control that they've implemented in order to safeguard your security. Additionally, iManage never has access to your data. And if you do have a requirement to manage your own encryption keys, they do support that and enable you to have customer managed encryption keys that rotate every year and have an auditable process through that. So there's some risk involved with that, but if you do have higher and more stringent security needs, iManage can help you fulfill them. Um, as a company who's gone through SOC 2 Type 2 audits yearly, we understand the importance of security, and it's great to see that the platforms that we work with are really paving the way for our clients to have a secure not only document storage but workspace where they can log into every day and do their day-to-day needs um, without worrying about you know uh, compromising the system. So I
Yeah.
love seeing a company where you can just go to the portal and download the information and see all the different controls that they've implemented. It's very nice and transparent.
Yeah, 100%. The artificial intelligence topic, because it
Ooh.
seems like, every time I get an article from law.com or anything really legal related is about artificial intelligence.
Mm.
And I know iManage is looking already, they are already leveraging, not just looking to leverage artificial intelligence. Could you talk about what iManage is doing in the artificial intelligence in the AI world to incorporate that into their tools?
Yeah, Insight Plus is the offering from iManage. I think they did introduce this to partners. Wow, I want to say almost a year ago, but it could have been a year and a half. I'm sorry, my recollection of time is not that great. But I remember attending one of their webinars where they were introducing this feature, and it made search look so easy. I mean, for all um, the lip service I give training and making sure you understand how to give an advanced search, it seems like one day that skill is going to be lost to us because tools like Insight Plus really make it easy and take the guesswork out of what, uh, how do I find what I'm searching for? People in the audience may already know what a Boolean search term is and how to use and or X or even in a search term. And with these AI offerings, that skill it's going to be useful to understand what it's giving you, but it's not going to be necessary much longer, I want to say. Um, I'm also seeing new features that I don't want to speak too much out of turn, but it's very exciting what iManage is cooking up with Copilot and other API backends. So I am seeing some ability in the near future that we should all be on the lookout for to expand on their AI offerings. But unfortunately, I don't want to get into specifics at this time, just because they're still new to me, and I like to make sure that I'm in a position where I can fact check myself before I
Well, yeah, I'd
get
say
too
that
far
brings up a
into it.
good point. After I ask this or after you answer this or address this, we could open it up to any more questions. Um, and maybe we don't necessarily just center this question on iManage, but what 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 trends are you seeing in the world of document management, as well? Not just in the world of document management, but document management tools and services to law firms that the law firms can leverage.
Oh, absolutely. So we're seeing AI implementations really range from every single aspect of a legal professional's day to day, and really very, very, very much by usability. So I think where AI is doing the best right now in the legal world is in the document review and production arena. Litigation support. You see AI tagging big collections for review pretty accurately now. So a lot of the litigation support tools out there, e-discovery platforms who are implementing AI. I think that's where you get the most value in terms of hours saved right now. Um, right, I'm a little bit wishy-washy on where these citation tools come into play. We've already seen a lot of headlines throughout the news of different court filings that have been thrown out and very embarrassing situations where a attorney will file an article with the courts that is contains information that was hallucinated. And very early on, the California bar guidelines had been set with the recommendation for law firms to fulfill specific duties. One of those is like a duty of confidentiality. So it recommends that any law firm reach out to information security professionals or other qualified, technical um, consultants who can attest to the security of whatever offering you have before you enter any identifying information, which could expose your client. A lot of these large language models, which are the chatbots like ChatGPT, Llama, and Claude, they are actually training themselves on what you type in to that platform. And so if you're typing in your client's name is now identifiable in that language model's training data. And it can be a huge headache for confidentiality. So before you implement an item, it's very important to make sure that you've got it vetted and that the security is in place. before you give it access to all of your documents and your systems. And if you can find a way to wall it off and not give it access to every single item in your libraries, that's even better. So even if it's secure, we want to take a real methodical approach here, and give it only what it needs in order to be a useful tool.
Great. Thank you. Um, One more that I thought of as you were talking, and I'll put you on the spot here. Not that you haven't been on the spot for the last 40 minutes. Um, any from your expertise, from your 20 years of doing this and working with iManage, working with document management, do you, are there, I don't want to call it a prediction. I don't want to say that, but are there things, are there tools or capabilities or functionality that these document management tools don't have right now that you feel should be considered?
That's that's a good question and it's a tough one, but I will say that whichever platform finds a way to become a one-stop shop
Mm.
for a law firm is a platform that's going to win. Uh,
What define that? Because that could be interpreted a number of different ways. One-stop
Absolutely. And
shop.
you see a lot of these applications, iManage included, uh, creating integrations so that you can get to your documents and workspaces where you're already working. And I'll use the Teams integration as a really good example of this. So if you are a team shop, if your law firm communicates on Teams, now you can add a channel for the workspace or for your client and integrate that with iManage and start sharing these things through Teams. That really does assume that your one-stop shop here is Teams. That's where you're working. That's where you start your day in the office after you log into your computer. Right now, a lot of law firms have various applications in order to help them do specific things. They've got their timekeeping application where they get to start their timer before they begin billing to a specific matter. They've got their docketing solution. They've got their practice solution. They have their back end billing. I mean, it goes on and on. They've got macros. They have comparison tools, and you got to open 14 applications throughout your day in order to get something done. And that switching between is where a lot of people get frustrated, and rightly so. Um, you have to copy things multiple times, you lose your clipboard. It becomes a big headache where switching in between different applications ends up losing you productivity and costing you in your realization rates. So whichever application figures out how to tie all of those things together, how to become the first thing a legal professional opens when they start their day, I think is going to win the document management platform wars in a way. They're going to position themselves in a way where it's a no-brainer. Okay, well, I can just start this up, and if I need to add a calendaring rule, I just go to my little shortcut on the left, and I can, review my docket. I mean, um, I can click this shortcut and share my documents. I can click this shortcut and work on my filing. It would be a game changer for people to have one panel. And a lot of firms try to do this with internal websites as well. But that can be a very costly endeavor to try and leverage like a SharePoint solution. But I have seen some workable solutions out there from from different law firms, normally very big, 500 plus employees. Um, so whoever can bring that functionality to the masses and to mid-sized law firms and below is going to find themselves very happy with their growth, I think.
Great. I appreciate you enlightening us on that answer. I know that wasn't one that was typically planned, but
Hey,
it was a good answer. It was a good answer. We have 16 minutes left. We wanted to leave 15 minutes or so for general Q&A from the audience. If there's any questions the audience wants to ask, now is the time to do it. You could throw them in the chat, or if you'd like to just speak up, you could do that as well. I'm just monitoring the chat. I guess people are approaching lunchtime, so they're a little bit nervous to ask any questions right now.
Oh, I can relate. That's all right. And thanks. That was a fun question actually, because I've thought about that one a bit on my own. And if I was doing something outside of what I love doing day to day and just helping law firms with their systems, I'd be trying to design um, a dashboard that fit the needs of everyone, I think.
Yeah, it's something that comes up often in conversation that firms are looking to get that all-in-one practice management tool, and it doesn't exist. Not that I've seen or many of us have seen before. I mean, there's bits and pieces, and I think some organizations or some companies that have the tools are getting closer, but it just seems that they seem to be strong in one area, but not so strong in another area.
Mhm.
So well, great. Well, it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions. I will share this. However, obviously, this recording will be sent out to all the attendees. Again, thank you very much for coming on board with us for this session here for 45 minutes to an hour. If there are questions that come up, if you want to get some more time with Ryan and myself or some other resources here at STS to talk a little bit more about iManage or document management in general, please let us know that. Some members of our team will be following up with y'all just to see if there's anything that we may have missed that you wanted to cover. But we could also set up some time with a Q&A with Ryan should the desire be there. So if there's no more questions, Ryan, anything else you want to end with?
I'll just thanks to everyone who could attend today. And if you have any frustrations or horror stories or just fun anecdotes over your migrations or journey with the document management system, send them my way. I always love to hear them.
Great. Well, Ryan, thanks for being a good sport today. Thanks for the team to attending, and thanks for everybody that participated today. Thanks all. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks so much.
Bye bye.